Hello, a new shade of blue tuning in. It's good to be back. If you're wondering where I've been for the last month, well, I've been participating in the Inktober challenge. Every day last month I posted a new ink drawing online. This is my first time taking on the challenge in earnest, and I'd like to share my thoughts on it, as well as critique my own work in the process. So, let's get into it. Okay, let me start this off with a confession. This actually took several days to make, sketching it, designing it, inking it. But I posted it on the first day of Inktober because it was my first real test for what to expect. It's been a long time since I designed something in such detail, looking up different references for each individual parts, getting the pose just right. I think it turned out really well, and I'm pretty proud of it, honestly. I just wanted to start off this Inktober right. And I believe this did just that. Alright, day 2. This was well, I didn't do a prompt list. Most of the time when people do Inktober, they have a list of subjects to draw off of. I didn't do that. I kind of went in blind, so I needed to scramble to come up with something each and every day. And again, bit of a confession, I was prepared for this by creating several drawings in advance in case I got stuck one night. But don't worry, day 3 is going to be different. Okay, day 3. This is another one I'm proud of. This is a character I've been working on for a while. I finally nailed down what she's going to look like in my future story. The clothes were the hardest part. She's supposed to be a scientist, and I didn't know how to make a scientist look stylish because she's also a vain scientist. I like how our mechanical staff turned out. And overall, I'm really proud of this. I like how it exemplifies my style, basically. Okay, day 4, I feel like I choked. I couldn't think of anything, and I knew I needed a peccary design that I have yet to complete, so I just threw something on the canvas. I could have done better. Okay, day 5. This is another one of my go-to characters, but this one didn't turn out too well. Once again, I was scrambling to come up with ideas. Well, nothing much more to say here. Okay, for day 6, I decided to design a character for a story that I pitched to a competition. It was supposed to be about an orc who was adopted into the royal family of elves. Of course, the story changed a lot since I came up with its design, but all in all, I liked how it turned out. He looks like a friendly, furry monster dude, which is exactly what I was going for. Okay, so day 7 is an older piece that I rediscovered and decided to post. It's a fan art for True Tale, School of Heroes. This is a show I've been working on for a couple of years now, and one day, hopefully, it'll come out. But I like how the value worked on the back of Melody, the rabbit character's head, and I like the concept overall. Battle of the bards. Two bards strumming it out as hard as they can, and doing physical damage to one another. In this universe, bards can only do support magic, and the rabbit character didn't want to believe that, so she went to go find out for herself if it's true or not. Of course, I'm the type who always likes to play with the rules. I don't really like the idea that you're stuck as one thing. but we'll see how the real story plays out. This is just my interpretation. Okay, day 8 didn't turn out exactly the way I wanted it to. As you can see, is that character that I like to draw a lot, Demetrius Loris is his name. I had this vision of him trying to land a crashing light flying machine, but it didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to. I had a hard time finding reference for the shot I really wanted to make, and I couldn't quite picture it, with my imagination alone. But this one ended up being part of a trilogy, so take what I can get. Okay, so this was originally supposed to be a series of drawings, but for day 9 I happened to be at a boxing party, and I suddenly realized midnight's approaching, so I put my sketchbook down and quickly scribbled something out. And it ended up being a continuation of the last drawing. Well, I guess the rest of this story is pretty self-explanatory. I was hoping to draw something like the eagle flying behind the clouds like a shark underwater, but I just didn't have the time to plan that out. Maybe next time. Okay, so day 10 turned out surprisingly well as well. I've never been great with backgrounds, but I like how this one turned out. I've always envisioned this flooded mall as a setting for my story, one that's been decayed into kind of a marsh area. And I've been meaning to work my minimalist backgrounds because trying to draw detailed backgrounds is only a time sink for me. So I like how this turns out, it gets the point across. Oh, and if you're wondering, in the character's hands is that bat creature from day 4, I believe? Yep. Okay, day 11 is another one of my favorites. Once again, I had no idea what to draw, so I just looked up random shapes. Somehow this weird rhombus looking thing turned to this little dinosaur baby, chasing after his mom. I just love that feeling of when things just sort of click in your creativity. Well, and you find creativity you never knew you had. Okay, so I mentioned that my story changed for my pitch on day 6. Well, on day 12, I decided to redesign my character to reflect that. He's a bit more hunched, apprehensive. But I kept the outfit because I honestly couldn't come up with something better. I like the hair though, makes him look a bit more animalistic. Day 13, and once again, I'm kind of proud. Not really because of how it turned out, but because of how it came to be. I was at a loss once again, so I just started scribbling, and somehow it turned into this ninja mouse. I also like the fog effect that it created. Yeah, this one really has some atmosphere to it, in my opinion. Day 14. Once again, I went in with no plan. So, I tried to use the same strategy I used the day prior. I just started scribbling. This time, I wasn't having much luck. Eventually, I just started making these quick dashes. Started with a triangle, and somehow that evolved into a cat. So, once again, finding creativity you didn't know you had. Okay, so by day 15, I thought it was time I finally started putting more thought into what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was more character interaction, since that's something I don't really do very often. You probably recognize the character on the left, Novella, and this is another character I created, Vidica. There's a storyline here that I won't get into right now, but I like what can be assumed from this image. For day 16, I decided to continue character interactions. This one's actually another one of my favorites. I like the expressions on their faces as they help each other. I feel like there's some bad blood going on despite them still, protecting one another. This was also one of the least liked pictures I made. Go figure. So for day 17, I got experimental. The work I did on day 16 made me want to use more colors and values with what I was doing, but I didn't have the courage to do all that in ink just yet. So I finally went out and bought some markers. It's something I've been thinking about doing for a while, but I finally had an excuse to learn, I guess. What you see here is me attempting to learn how to draw water, basically. And you'll see where I went with this in the upcoming drawing. I held off on my water study for day 18 in favor of another character I've been wanting to make. I was gonna do another character interaction, but I was pressed for time and couldn't make another character right away. So I just had him attacking a cactus. This cowboy with a sword, with a weird electrical sword attacking a cactus. Also, this was a marker experiment, so not one of my favorites. For day 19, I dipped back into my back catalog, my emergency supply, if you will. Not because I was really pressed for time, but I wanted to show what I was trying to do with that character. I named this one Ada Reeves. You'll probably be seeing him again in the future with one of these quick draws or something. This is one of my early attempts at a minimalist background as well. By day 20, I finally worked up the courage to see if my experiments actually worked. And you know what? I think they did. I really like this piece. It feels like it flows, you know? There's something going on here that I think will capture people's interest. And once again, I'm proud of this one. Really pushed my limits here. Day 21, I'm not so proud of. It was late, I was tired, I couldn't think of anything, so I just decided to do fan art for the first time. Yeah, so here's a happy little Pikachu. Yeah. Okay, so day 22 was the last of my reserves. From here on out, it's all original work created on that day. As for this piece itself, you'll kind of like how it turned out. I think the pose is pretty dynamic. I like the skateboard. I tried not to get too complex with it, otherwise it wouldn't have looked nearly as good. So yeah, other than how the hair turned out, I say this one was a success. So for day 23, I wanted to do an effects piece, I guess you could say. Another way of me pushing myself and seeing what I can really do in ink. I think it looks pretty cool, honestly, but I think Symphony's design, the bat here, it could have used some work. The anatomy and the pose just aren't really working for me. But I'll probably return to this electric design. I think there's more I can do with it. Okay, so the story behind day 24 is that I just got back from the Renaissance Festival. I spent all day there. I had just eaten, and it was late, and I was scribbling, hoping something would come to me, and nothing really did up until this popped up. Honestly, this ended up being basically the perfect image for how I was feeling at the time. This half-melted Darth Vader looking thing is the picture of exhaustion. For day 25, I decided to design another scene. I had this image of my character Demi just being absorbed into looking at his map that's in the palm of his hand, by the way. That's supposed to be a map. A 3D projected, sort of a 3D projector pop out. I did not design it well. I'll do better next time. Anyway, he's so engrossed in this map reading that he ends up not realizing he's about to walk off a cliff. Just a little character piece there. I probably tucked that arm in a bit too far, and I really should have broken the silhouette more. But live and learn. On day 26, I drew this Mutant Pikachu looking creature. And you know what? It was one of my more relaxed drawing experiences. I love drawing monsters. It's a way for me to just decompress, you know? I can make any shape and turn into any creature, and most of the time they turn out looking pretty cool. I mean, of course, they're pretty Pokemon-esque. I mean, Pokemon is my inspiration for becoming an artist in the first place, so that kind of makes sense. I like this saber-tooth creature. It has that sweet combination between cute and cool. Day 27 ended up being the most popular piece I've made. It's a portrait of my niece. This is the first time I really decided to test myself in a way that I was pretty uncomfortable with. I decided not to make a cartoon, but a real person. It's been a while since I've drawn a portrait, and I think this one turned out okay. I couldn't get the braids exactly right. These are a lot thicker than they were in the actual picture I referenced. Oh, and if you're wondering, that thing she's leaning against, that's actually my shoulder in that picture. I'm wearing a crumpled jacket. After the portrait, it felt like I finally figured out what I should have been doing this whole time. Practicing things I'm uncomfortable with. So I realized I haven't drawn an actual animal in a long time, so I decided to draw my favorite, a wolf. Hopefully replace something in my portfolio. The fur work I still need to practice with, but this came out okay overall. I'll probably try to make the fur thicker my next go around. For day 29, I decided to take inspiration from my niece once again. This was her Halloween costume, and I decided to make a character out of it. I really wanted to test out my skills with, adding definition to something that's completely black, so I can give it form using light instead of shadow. And to my surprise, it actually seemed to work. Of course, in this image, the proportions are way off. I should definitely work on my life drawing skills more often. Okay, so I used day 30 to tackle one of my biggest fears, background design. As I've noted before, I've been using minimalist backgrounds, mostly because background design requires more time and effort that I couldn't work into the 2-hour time limit that I made for myself for this challenge. But I knew I needed to push myself, and if I was going to do that, this would be one of the challenges I have to tackle. And I think it turned out okay. I used shading to emphasize the solid objects, and lack of shading to emphasize the light shining off of them. I think it turned out okay. The way the subject in the center of the spooky forest sort of fades out as the light is projected onto it, as well as this ring of light that's projected on the water that he's standing on, as well as the reflection that comes down beneath him. Once again, I surprised myself. It's not the best, but it's better than I ever thought I could do. For the last day, I didn't know what to do. It felt like I should have a big send-off, but I kind of made the mistake of doing that for day 30. I felt like I needed to do something spooky for Halloween, and I just got back from trick-or-treating. I was thinking about making a poster with some of my returning characters, but I kind of ran out of time. I needed to compose the poster and everything, and honestly, the thematic elements didn't really seem to fit. So, I decided to do something that I've been working on, earlier on. There was this structure that my neighbors had put up for Halloween decoration, and I thought that would make a pretty good looking monster. So, I turned into a monster. I was able to incorporate the things I learned from the last couple of drawings, the value and in the use of light. I think I was able to make this creature look especially spooky because of it. Before Inktober, I probably wouldn't have tried to, it probably wouldn't have ended up looking like this at all. Probably would have just stuck with the outlines. So I'm not sure if this is a strong finish, but this is how I completed the 31 days of Inktober. And there you have it. So, what did I learn from this exercise? Well, I've learned how to push myself, honestly. People have been saying that I needed to do that for a long time, but I never really got what they meant. I guess you learn by doing, huh? It turns out I'm better than I thought, and there's a lot of areas I just need to improve on, but it's not as daunting as I once believed. So I'll be making a lot more drawings in the future that will incorporate everything I learned so far. And next year, I'll probably have a prompt list just so I won't have to scramble like I have been doing. It's actually pretty stressful, and I don't think it really needs to be. My game plan was to start at 8 o'clock and then finish by 10 o'clock, but more often than not, I would start at 10 or 10:30 or 11 and then have to rapidly make something before midnight. And more often than, well, actually, I did a surprisingly good job of not going over the midnight time limit, but it did happen a few times. So next year I will be more prepared and have a better understanding of what I'm capable of. Well, those are my thoughts on Inktober. If you would like to see these artworks individually, please check out my Instagram. Please like and subscribe for more videos. And in the meantime, this is ANewShadeOfBlue, tuning out.